أن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله والسلام عليه تسليما كثيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In this our third session concerning some of the durus al-mustafada from what has come to us in the kitab of Allah Azza wa Jal and the authentic sunnah of Al-Mustafa Al-Mukhtar Al-Mujtaba sallallahu alayhi wasallam as a way of rahmah upon this ummah concerning the Masih Ad-Dajjal. We want to deal with a question that was reoccurring in the last 2 days and we kept delaying it until this day. In the previous lessons, we do not nadda'i or claim that we have touched upon everything that needs to be touched upon concerning this individual. There's a lot of information out there. Everyone has a religious responsibility to go back and to study more for himself. But we came and we touched the surface with what I saw as being some of the more important issues. So today, inshallah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal never gave us information and warning about issues except that he also showed us the way how to avoid the evil. And this was the tarbiyah that the Prophet used to give to his companions sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam in all of the affairs, especially in the affairs of the fitna. The companion Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, he said, Kana nas يسألون رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الخير وكنت أسأله عن الشر مخافة أن يدركني. He said that the other companions used to ask the Prophet about the good things, but I, Hudhayfa, used to ask him about the evil things out of fear that they would hit me and I would fall into them. So the companions, radiallahu anhum, the shahid of that kalam is they took care of the khair and they took care of knowing the evil with the purpose of avoiding that stuff and being able to protect themselves and their families from those issues. So today, inshallah, in this session, we're going to deal with some of the practical ways that have come to us from the Quran and the Sunnah, the authentic Sunnah, to give us the isma or the divine protection from the Dajjal. Because without the tawfiq of Allah and without his divine protection, person is going to be lost. It's going to be in trouble. It's going to be a problem. And again, I want to repeat and reiterate that these things come to us from the kitab and the sunnah. They don't come to us from the ijtihad and from the istihsan and from the dhawq of the people. It feels good to me, so I'm going to do this because I think it'll work. I think I heard my sheikh, he said, do this and do that, so I think it's going to work. I'm going to wear tamima, a ta'weed, and be protected from the Dajjal because I think that's going to work. No, we want to give you some of the practical guidances that the Nabi said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, should be done as a divine protection from the Masih Ad-Dajjal. And there are quite a few of them. And from them come some other benefits as well that we hope to touch upon. At the top of the list, Ikhwani, from the things that will protect the individual from the Dajjal, obviously, is getting knowledge. Knowledge about a person's deen. The more you know about your religion, the further away the shaitan is to you. The more you know about your deen, the more difficult it is for you to fall into shubahat. The more a person knows about his deen, the easier it becomes for him to identify and to recognize the truth and to distinguish it from falsehood. The less a person knows about his deen, the more hira he's going to be in. He's going to be confused and he's not going to know what is the reality of whatever the situation is that's facing him. So knowledge of the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ اللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مُتَقَلَّبَكُمْ وَمَثْوَاكُمْ. Know that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. And seek refuge in Allah and forgiveness from Allah for your sins, Ya Muhammad, for your mistakes. And also seek forgiveness for the mistakes of the believing men and the believing women. Allah knows how you are changing here and there and what your final destinations are going to be. Al-Imam al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Bukhari in the chapter of At-Tafsir brought this ayat to give the tafsir of this ayat, and he made a bab and he said, Bab al-ilmu qabl al-qawli wal-amal. That knowledge precedes actions and statements. It's one of the benefits of that particular ayat. That before a Muslim does anything, before he says something, he has to have knowledge about what he is about to say, what he's about to do. If he doesn't have knowledge, then the thing that he is trying to do may come back as a cause of his sorrow. So knowledge will help protect the person from al-fitan. And from those fitan, the fitna of al-Masih al-Dajjal. There was a companion of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a number of companions, they used to go through this issue, like Abu Bakr, and what was collected by Imam al-Bukhari. Not Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with him. In the fitna of the camel, when Aisha, Az-Zubair, Talha, when those companions went out and they were opposing Ali ibn Abi Talib, and blood was shed as a result of that. Blood was shed. This man, Abu Bakr, said, I was about to go out and I was going to join them. But I remember a hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the king of Persia died. When that news came to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came out to us and he said to us, لَنْ يُفْلِحُ الْقَوْمِ وَلُّوا أَمْرَهُمْ رَأَةً. A group of people will never be successful if those people put a woman in charge of their affairs. He said, I was about to go out to participate with Talha, Zubair, and Aisha. I was going to go out, but then I remembered that hadith of the Nabi, and I saw that Aisha was in charge of the situation. And Aisha is who she is. In that same fitna, Hassan ibn Ali and Ammar ibn Yasir, they went up to Kufa, where there was a lot of fitna. Hassan got on the top of the mimbar, and Ammar ibn Yasir got on the bottom of the mimbar, and the people of Kufa were sitting there, and it was doing the fitna of the camel. And Ammar said to the people, hey, you people, Aisha is the wife of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dunya and in the hereafter, meaning she's going to be in Jannah. And the Nabi loved her, and vice versa. He said, but Allah is testing you people by her. Allah wants to see, are you going to listen to her or are you going to listen to him? Meaning, we're here and when we're representing Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the haqq is with him, clearly based upon the dalil. So Ammar didn't speak bad about Aisha because she was his opponent. Nor did Abu Bakr speak bad about Aisha when he said, I saw that Aisha was in front of that army and she was with Talha and Zubair. So as a result of that, I didn't go out. So the point of that incident in that hadith is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, because of his knowledge of that hadith, he knew he shouldn't be with that army. Knowledge protected him radiallahu anhu. Even Aisha herself in this fitna, knowledge protected her. She went out. She left Al-Medina and she went out. And there's an army with her. And they're going to fight. They actually fought. And the fight was going to go on some more. And then she came to a place where some dogs came by her camel and started barking at her and her camel. And then she remembered the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he told all of his wives were sitting, and he told them, ayyatukunna, any one of you, tanbahu kilab al-hawab alayha fattattaqillah. Any one of you women, if the dogs of the well of Hawab, if they start barking at you, then fear Allah. None of them knew what he was talking about at that time. She saw those dogs barking, and then she said to the people, where are we at? They said, we're at the well of Al-Hawab. She told them this hadith of the Nabi. She said, I'm going back. I'm going back. The Nabi warned me of this thing right here. I'm going back. Az-Zubayr radiallahu anhu said, don't go back. You may be able to go and make peace and solve this problem. So it was the knowledge of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she had that caused her to have that decision. So again, knowledge will divinely protect an individual and help him to navigate through whatever it is he's dealing with. More knowledge he has, the more he's able to deal with the situation correctly, inshallah. And in fitna, lack of knowledge and fitna, they go together. He says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the signs of the hour, يتقارب الزمان ويلقى الشح وينتشر الجهل وتظهر فتن. He said signs of the Yawm al-Qiyamah is that the time is going to become shortened. It's going to speed up. It's going to be less barakah in the day. He said, and also stinginess is going to be widespread. And ignorance is going to prevail. And as a result of that, fitna is going to increase. So at the top of the list, ikhwani, knowledge about the deen. And the type of knowledge we're talking about is knowledge of the religion. Knowledge of the religion. Enough knowledge to push off of yourself not knowing. Number two is what the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam legislated for us, and he taught us to be done every single day, at least 5 times a day, but even more than that for those people who are making qiyam al-layl, for those people who are coming and making tahiyatul masjid, for those people who are praying. He told the people sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we mentioned already, إِذَا تَشَهَّدَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ أَرْبَعٍ فَلْيَقُلْ اللَّهُمَّ إِنِّي أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ عذاب القبر ومن عذاب جهنم ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال ومن فتنة المحيا والممات. If any of you prays, then be sure to seek refuge in Allah from 4 things. Seek refuge in Allah in all of your prayers, from the adhab of the qabr, from the adhab of the hellfire, from the fitna of the Masih ad-Dajjal, and from the fitna of the life and the death. So that is the rahmah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the benefit of his sunnah, teaching people a divine protection, whether it's the Dajjal or other than the Dajjal. From the fitna, as the Nabi said, where your children are fitna, your wife is a fitna. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a man is tried every day with the fitna of his family, with the fitna of his wealth, and with the fitna of his children, his wife, his wealth, and his children. Every single day, he seeks refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from those fitan, loving one of them too much where he doesn't know what he's doing, having someone who doesn't help him to obey Allah Azza wa Jal, having children who are astray, having daughters that he's responsible for and he has to grow them up in this society, take care of them, marry them to the right people, being responsible for them is a fitness. Not always something negative that is bad people around you, but just doing your job. كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولًا رَعِيَّتِهِ. Everybody is responsible and he's going to be held accountable for his responsibility. So even if he's a righteous man who's been given good family members, it's still a fitna because you're responsible for how do you balance out the deen and this dunya in Canada. So the point here is all of the fitan, we have a way of being protected from it, in that if the person's praying, then this thing will help him. And we know, Ikhwani, from the best protections in Al-Islam is as-salat. As-salat. أقرب ما يكون العبد إلى ربه وهو ساجد فأكثروا فيها يعني السجدة فأكثروا فيها من الدعاء. The closest the slave is to his Lord is when he is in sajda. So make more dua when you're in sajda. Make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to protect you from the many things that are trials and tribulations. So, ad-dua, generally speaking, and as-salat specifically. And that ayat of the Quran, وَاعْتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of Allah all together and don't be divided. Some of the mufassirin, they gave the explanation that the rope of Allah Azza wa Jal is the salat. Hold on to the rope of Allah. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Hold on and be patient and seek Allah's protection and his help by being patient and by making the prayer. So the one who doesn't pray, he has disconnected his connection to Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether it is having his heart alive, whether it is being protected from what he knows and what he doesn't know. There are a number of ahadith that tell us about connecting our affairs. If a person's affairs are disconnected, there are going to be problems. For an example, he may not be on the same page as his wife. He's not on the same page at his job. The people are trying to get him fired. He needs things. His affairs are not connected. The Nabi says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man kanat ad-dunya akbar hammihi farraq Allahu alayhi shamlahu. Anybody who the dunya was the most important thing to him, Allah would disconnect his affairs. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ فَقْرَهُ. And Allah will put poverty right before his very eyes. If the dunya is the most important thing to him, Allah will scatter his affairs. Can't get married, can't get hired, can't get a house, can't get this, can't that. His children over here, all that. He's not happy. And Allah Ta'ala will put poverty right before his eyes. He said, مَنْ كَانَتِ الْآخِرَةَ أَكْبَرْ هَمِّهِ. Whoever the hereafter was the most important thing to him, جَمَعَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ شَمْلَهُ. Allah will bring for him his affairs together. وَجَعَلَ غِنَاهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ وَجَاءَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا رَغْمًا عَنْ نَفْسِهَا. Allah will put his affairs together and he will put richness right between his very eyes. Meaning, whatever he receives, he'll be content. And the dunya will come to him despite itself. It'll come. Raghm and nafsiha. It's going to come. So the point is, there are many ways to connect your affairs. One of the best ways of connecting your affairs is through that prayer. So before the prayer, the Nabi used to say to the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever connects the saf, Allah will connect him. Whoever disconnects the saf, Allah will disconnect him, which is a serious indication that we have to take advantage and we have to implement that sunnah of not destroying and disconnecting the safs. You don't go to any masjid in this dunya practically, except we have the people in the masjid who this thing about children between the lines is there. The child is 3, 4, 5, has no wudu, doesn't know what he's doing, and he stands between the father so that the father can take care of the child. That's haram in the deen of Allah, and you're sinning when you do that. You have to go to the back of the line, or you have to go to the end and your child is on the side, or you have to put your child over and sit by himself, pray with the kids. If your child doesn't know how to pray, then you shouldn't bring him to the masjid in this issue. You can't say it's better to break the saf and bring him to the masjid so he can learn the salah. No, the saf, it has a responsibility that has to be taken care of. So the shahid of all of that kalam is as-salat as-salat. Number 3, ikhwani, from what I think all Muslims know, certain surahs of the Quran are more important than others. All of the Quran is the kalam of Allah, but all of the Quran is not the same. meaning certain surah have more virtues than others. Surah Al-Fatiha is the greatest surah of the Quran. Ayatul Kursi is the greatest ayat of the Quran. You go to any community, many people memorized Yasin. And they memorized Yasin because of the weak hadith. There's nothing authentic about the virtues of Yasin. Nothing in the dunya. Yasin is what you read it for. Read Yasin over your dead. All of those issues. Everything has a heart, and the heart of the Quran is Yasin. All of those ahadith are fabricated. There are some authentic incidents about ayat in Surah Yasin, but the virtues of the surah, nothing. So the question is, why, wherever you go, Muslims memorize Yasin, which is good? I don't know. It doesn't have any special virtue. But one of the surahs that have virtues in the Quran, and it is a protection from the Dajjal, as everybody knows, is Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to encourage the people to connect themselves to Surah Al-Kahf. And he said, if anyone memorizes من حفظ عشر آيات من أول سورة الكهف عصم من فتنة الدجال. Anyone who memorized the first 10 ayat from Surah Al-Kahf, he would be ma'soom. He would be divinely protected from a Dajjal. Divinely. That hadith said the beginning, the first 10 ayat. There's another authentic hadith that says the last 10 ayat. And both of them are authentic. One says the first 10, and that's in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. And the second one said the last 10, Abu Darda, the last 10, in the Mu'jam al-Kabir by Imam al-Tabarani. So we should try to memorize the whole surah. It's like Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Anyone who reads it one time, it equals a third of the Quran. If you read it 3 times, it's as if you read the whole Quran. But what about all of those other ayat and those other surah that you didn't read? So you read that, and it's like you read all of the Quran, but you have to read that other stuff, the other ayat and surah, to really be a person who read all of the Quran. Al-Kahf is like that. Memorize those 20 ayat, first 10, last 10, but don't stop there. Try to memorize all of the surah. The scholar said from the wisdom of Surah Al-Kahf, protecting an individual from the Dajjal is because in the story of Surah Al-Kahf are ayat that clearly show people Allah Ta'ala's power, the ability to cause the Ashab al-Kahf, those young men, to be dead for all of those years. And Allah, the one who really gives life, brought them back to life again. The story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the story of Khidr, and all that is contained in the surah. Person reads that, he knows it's from Allah. Whereas when a Dajjal comes with his falsehood and so forth and so on, it'll be clearly an indication that he is the Masih Dajjal, who's a kadhab, and he's not bringing to the table what the ayat of the Surah Al-Kahf are bringing to the table. Before moving on to the next one, for the students of knowledge who are here, there's a big scholar of hadith right now. He is from Egypt. He came to Canada years ago. His name is Abu Ishaq al-Huwaini. He's from the people of knowledge. And if you're an Egyptian or if you're an Arab, I would advise you, go to the YouTube, go to the different websites where his knowledge is placed before you and come to know him. As I mentioned, he came to this country in the 90s, and not very many people were aware of his reality. He's a bona fide scholar of hadith. Al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, met with him when he went to Jordan, and it was one of the most famous meetings between Al-Albani and any other human being from the students of knowledge and from the Mashaykh. Al-Albani praised him and said a lot of good things about him. Anyway, because he's so famous, many people have heard and many people know that he said to read Surah Al-Kahf is an innovation on the Friday because the hadith is weak and he doesn't see it as being authentic. When a student of knowledge sees something like that, we have to look at the situation. If you really believe that, and you researched his ba'th, you researched what he said, and you're convinced about what he said, then take that position and make dawah to it, and don't be afraid. But don't accuse the sheikh just because he went against Al-Albani, just because he came with an issue that's not well known, or many people never heard that in their lives. Everybody thinks that Surah Al-Kahf, no doubt that hadith is authentic. Everything that you heard doesn't mean that it's right, and everything that you didn't hear doesn't mean that it's wrong. Not at all. Many people never knew that it's the last 10 ayahs as well. There's a hadith that says the last 10 ayahs of Al-Kahf, and a hadith that says the first 10 ayahs. I just want to address this with the brothers who are students, and these types of issues should not be issues that we have al-wala wal-bara upon. We have to have the etiquette of al-adab, the adab al-ikhtilaf. The sheikh has his ijtihad. I think he was wrong. Hafidhahullahu ta'ala wa shafahullah. I think he was wrong in what he said, but we're not going to have wala wal-bara. He went against what Al-Albani said. How could he? What kind of knowledge is that? That's not knowledge in the deen. If you believe that that's correct, then go with it. And I would advise, don't be muta'assib to any human being. Just have a ta'assub to the truth, and that's it. So reading Surah Al-Kahf, the first 10 ayat and the last 10 ayat are from those issues. Number 4, ikhwani, and this is really important from many angles. Number 4 is that if a person wants to be protected from the Dajjal, then let him not go to the Dajjal in the first place. That's what the Prophet told us to do. That's what he commanded us to do. That's what he said that we should do. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. In an authentic hadith, he said, "Man sami'a bid-Dajjal falyan'a anhu, fawallahi inna ar-rajul layatihi wa huwa yahsubu annahu mu'min, فَيَتَّبِعُهُ مِمَّا يُبْعَثُ بِهِ مِنَ الشُّبَهَاتِ." He said, if any of you hears about the Dajjal, then don't go to him. Go the other way. Don't go to him. Because I swear by Allah, wallahi, a man will come to a Dajjal, and the man would think that he is a mu'min. He would think that he's a believer. His religion is strong. But he'll find himself following the Dajjal because of the shubahat that Dajjal has been given. The shubahat that are going to be a threat to any and everybody. The biggest scholar will be under siege, and his Islam will be threatened if he goes and he listens to that Dajjal. From this comes a very important principle in al-Islam, from what the ulama of al-hadith were upon, the people of the sunnah, and what we should be upon in our Islam and in our dunya as well. And that is people of innovation, people of al-ma'asiyah, people who are criminals. This hadith shows you should avoid those people. This hadith is a proof that you don't go to people of innovation. You don't learn from them, and you don't pray in their masjids. Right next to your house is a masjid of people who believe that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Hazir Nazir. The Prophet never died. The Imam is really on that. The people are on that. The people raise Imams above Rasulullah. They're with the group that are problematic. They don't believe in the hadith. Although we don't say that they are kuffar because the dalil hasn't been proven on them, or because they may be ignorant, they curse the companions. That masjid is right next to your house. Avoid the masjid and go a bit further to a masjid of the sunnah. If it's too difficult to go to a masjid that's further, and they're not falling into kufr, then you can pray in there. I'm sure that the Sheikh Hamid Al-Tuwajiri mentioned that from the Asl Sunnah book that he's teaching, that Ahl Sunnah see the permissibility of praying behind any and every Muslim as long as he doesn't fall into an innovation that takes him outside of Islam. So if a person is cursing the companions and he's ignorant, we're going to pray behind him. If we're in his house, go to a masjid, he's in the salah, we're not going to ask him, what do you believe about this, believe about that? We're going to pray. But if you can avoid that masjid and go to the place where the people are on the sunnah, then it is better. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to his companions who were Arabs and they knew about camels, he said, la yuradu al-jamal al-musah ma jamal al-marid. If you are a man who owns camels, you have some camels or some sheep or whatever, then you shouldn't allow the camel that is well, he has good health. Don't allow him to drink from the water, the trough, with the camel that's sick. Those camels have worms in their noses. They have worms in their knees and elbows. And as a result of that, when they drink, those worms come into the water. So when the camel that doesn't have a disease drinks, then that well camel is going to be affected. So this is how the Nabi, over 1400 years ago, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was teaching this whole process and this principle that the medical field has today. Someone has some disease, TB, tuberculosis. He has hepatitis. The doctor, they put them in a special place in quarantine. Put people who are sick by themselves so they can get well. This issue of a ta'un, if a disease comes, the Nabi said, if that disease comes, don't go into that city. If it comes while you're there, don't go out of that city. It's common sense. Those same hadith and principles apply in your deen, in your religion. This man over here, he curses the companions. Don't go listen to him. That one over here, he believes in this, he believes in that. Don't go listen to him. And that's because, as Sheikh Al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, a person's heart is like a sponge, the way it is, especially young people. It's like a sponge. It has the ability and the propensity to absorb what is being given to it. So it has to be divinely protected. And part of that is not marrying your daughter off to a relative who curses the companions. That's common. In some of the parts of the world we come from, I don't curse the companions. I don't curse him where I come from. I don't curse him. Me and my family don't curse him. But my uncles, daughters, my uncle and my aunties, they curse. So from our custom is my daughter has to marry one of her cousins related to them. He has to marry Ghulam Hussein, Sajid Hussein. So I go ahead and do it because of the pressure. This hadith of a Dajjal tells you, don't do that. Don't do that. You tell those people, no, there's a disease over there in what you're thinking, and I don't want my daughter to go off the mark and to become of those people. So that's one of the main benefits of this hadith of a Dajjal. Avoiding him, you won't have any problems, and avoid people who are similar to him, people of innovation, people of shirk, people of ma'asiyah, people doing crimes. That's one of the benefits of that hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Also, ikhwani, from what will protect an individual divinely from what Allah Ta'ala has legislated is Mecca and Al-Medina. As we mentioned yesterday, the Dajjal will come to those two cities, and on each gate of those cities, gates that we can't see, there are malaika who are guarding those two cities. He will come to Al-Medina and encamp outside of Al-Medina. Medina will have 3 earthquakes. The munafiqeen and the munafiqat, men and women, will leave and they will join his army. So if a person is in Al-Medina, he should stay in Al-Medina. He shouldn't make hijrah to Asham or other than Asham. Medina is better for them if they only knew. But there is a hadith that added on to those two places. He also said that a Dajjal won't be able to go into Al-Bayt al-Maqdis. And he also said that a Dajjal won't be able to go on the mountain of Tur, where Isa ibn Maryam, where Musa went and received the Torah from Allah Azza wa Jal. So you have to add on to Mecca and Medina. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about the Dajjal in a long hadith, La ya'ti arba'ata masajida, al-Kaaba, wa masjid Rasulillahi, wal masjid al-Aqsa, Tur. The Dajjal won't be able to enter into 4 masjids. He called them 4 masjids, although one is a mountain. And they said he called Tur a mountain because the people who go there will build a masjid there and they'll be praying there. He won't be able to go into Mecca. He won't be able to go into the masjid of Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He won't be able to go into Bayt al-Maqdis, and he won't be able to go to Tur, which is that mountain in Ash-Sham, where Musa went and received the revelation. Concerning Masjid al-Aqsa, it is the third most important masjid in al-Islam, and there's a lot of misunderstandings concerning Masjid al-Aqsa. Some people think that that picture of the golden minaret, that dome on the rock, is Masjid al-Aqsa, and it's not even the masjid. Masjid al-Aqsa is a bit over. Praying in the Prophet, praying in Mecca, one prayer there is 100,000. In al-Medina, praying one prayer there is 1,000. Does anybody know how much Masjid al-Aqsa is? Praying in Masjid al-Aqsa, one salat is how much? Anybody know? Many people believe it's 500. But if you ask, where's the dalil for that? Where is the dalil for 500? It's mashhur. Praying in Masjid al-Aqsa is 250 prayers. 250 prayers. There's a book that was written by the Sheikh Mashhur Hassan, who was one of the uppermost and prolific students of Sheikh Al-Albani. He wrote a book that I advise you brothers to get. It's called Al-Qawl al-Mubin fi Akhta al-Musallin, the clear words, the clear statement, and the mistakes of those who pray. That book has been translated into English. It's a free book. And he goes through the salat and the common mistakes that people make in salat by themselves, and in the salat in Jama'at, in the salat of Friday, in the salat of Al-Eid, the salat of the woman. It's one of those comprehensive books that you will read over and over and over and over again and continue to have new knowledge unfold, just like Al-Albani's book, Sifat al-Salat. You read that book one time, if you go back and read it again, you're going to comprehend things that you didn't understand before. Doesn't mean that that book is equal to the Quran. Doesn't mean that that book doesn't have any mistakes. Doesn't mean that that book is the book that's wajib to read. Doesn't mean that. It just means that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given certain authors and certain books al-Qabul. And Imam al-Nawawi, his books, Riyadh al-Salihin, everybody has that book. It's translated in every language. His book, 40 Hadith, everybody has that book. His book, Al-Afkar, everybody has that book. Everybody read that book. Allah made his books accepted by this ummah. So there are some books that are just like that. Fiqh al-Sunnah is one of those books. It's all over the world. All over the world. Some books are just like that. So this particular book by Mashhur Hassan, in there is the chapter about Masjid al-Aqsa and some of what people think concerning it. And he brings the proofs and the adillah that show from the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Masjid al-Aqsa, there's 250 salats for each prayer. In addition to what has been mentioned, Khwani, what will help the individual obviously is having yaqeen in his religion and not being a person who has doubt about his religion. The more yaqeen a person has, the more he's committed and the more thabat that he's going to have. If he's one of those individuals who has shak, am I on the right way? Is my methodology the right way? Is my jama'at the right way? Al-yaqeen not based upon taqleed or ta'assub, but al-yaqeen because the thing makes sense. So the more yaqeen that an individual has, the more thabat he's going to have. He's going to be more established on his issue. And that comes, again, from that hadith of the man that the Dajjal will kill and then bring him back together and give him life. When the Dajjal told the people, if I kill him and give him life, will you people believe that I'm your Lord? And they said, yes. Some of them say yes. When he does it, the man looked at the Dajjal and he said, لَقَدْ إِزْدَدْتُ بِكَ يَقِينًا. My surety and clarity about you has increased. I know you're the Dajjal. I have absolutely no doubt. So if an individual, he is one of those people who people can come to him and blow him off of the square, as the kuffar will do. Allah told us that many ayat of the Quran, يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. They want to extinguish the nur of Allah and blow it out. make you afraid, make you not want to practice your religion. And if you're one of those people who accommodate people in your religion, Muslims and non-Muslims, you're one of those people with the slippery feet. You want to please people. As Imam Shafi'i said, pleasing people is impossible. No matter who you try to please, there's going to be other people going to be upset with you. So try to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. Try to please your parents when you can, but not at the cost of compromising the truth. You're a practicing person. They want to have the nikah, and in the nikah, you have ghira. Your wife wears hijab, jilbab, niqab. You tell them, I don't care. You people can't bring any cameras in here. My wife is dressed like this. I don't want no music. I don't want this. I don't want that. Don't be of the people when your aunties put pressure on you and the people put pressure on you that you're going to go ahead and you're going to do it. We had this situation back in the UK with certain groups of people, ethnic groups, because there's problems between the father of the bride or the groom. He has problems with his brothers or sisters. So they say the father says the father has problems with his wife's family. So he says, if you invite them, I'm not going to the wedding of my son. He wants to blackmail the son. And I say, this is ignorance and it's dhulm. The one day that the father should be standing next to his daughter, next to his son, is the day of the nikah. So he has to eat humble pie. And although he's having those problems, he can't let those problems overshadow and overpower the support that he has to give for his children. So the point here is, Khwani, al-yaqeen in your religion, in your aqeedah, in your minhaj, being sure, not being apologetic. Today, giving dawah today. Many groups are afraid of giving dawah to Tawheed, afraid of giving dawah, calling it the way it is. Not being nasty, but calling it the way it is. Because if you say the truth the way it has to be said, they won't listen. The youngsters won't come. So what we have to do is we have to make gimmicks. We have to do tricks. We have to do different things in order to make the people come. We have to be switched on and make it youth friendly. So what we'll do is we'll give a program, and we have to have the anashid, and we have to have Islamic hip hop, and we have to have, and if you don't do those things, a lot of people won't come. Okay, let them not come. We want as many people to come as possible. We want as many to come as possible. But the Nabi didn't play tricks like that. He did certain things that we won't call them tricks, but he knew the nature of the human beings. Like these people who have this opinion, they know the nature of human beings. You make a trick, they'll come. You don't make any tricks, they won't come. So what did the Nabi do? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would slaughter a camel and invite Quraysh to come eat. Everybody wants free food. They want a party, so they come and they eat the food. After they ate the food, the Nabi would say to them, I want to talk to you people. What do you want to talk about, Ya Muhammad? He said, if I told you people that there was an army coming to get us from behind this mountain, what would you say? We would believe you. You're Muhammad, you're Al-Amin, we believe you. He said, then I'm telling you that I am the Rasul of Allah sent to you, telling you about a grievous punishment that's going to befall you if you don't say La ilaha illallah. He didn't tell them to make salat, zakat. He said, you have to say La ilaha illallah. If you say it, Quraysh, you will control your enemies. His uncle Abu Lahab, as is ma'ruf, mashhur, said, is that what you gathered us to eat this food for? Is this what you wanted to tell us? May your hands perish. May you be destroyed. May you die. So, Tabbat Yada Abi Lahab was revealed. The point here is that the Nabi brought food, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't call that a trick. That's from our religion. Being good to people, sending them food, your neighbor and stuff like that. Ramadan, other than that, bringing them over, having a dinner and all that. That's from the religion. We're talking about the unnecessary tricks that Muslims are playing just to get the people. Have yaqeen, have yaqeen. The yaqeen is give dawah to al-Islam and the basira. He drew a long line. He said, that's the sirat of Allah. It's long, it's arduous, it's difficult to tread upon. It's your job just to get on the line and the path and keep going. To the right and the left, he said, are the different paths, different dawahs, the tricks and other than that, on the right and the left. On each one of them, there is a shaitan calling the people to it, inviting the people to it. Avoid those paths. And from those paths are the tricks that we see today. Islamic hip-hop is a trick because there's no such thing in our religion. So this is what we wanted to present, Ikhwani, concerning today's dars. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll have the second session in about 15 minutes بإذن الله عز وجل. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى التوفيق والسداد. Can I use your pen أخي؟ أدحر. You have paper in here? Ya salam. That brother brought it to you? Where is he at? That's different, huh? And fidya fil khula. Wow. Akhi, so okay, so it seems like the Sheikh has written a series of books, huh? Like this. I have his doctorate's degree. Really? But he knows a lot of people of